Is it? All right. Islam, everyone. Welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open, live. Live. And this is your host, Anaid, along with my co-host, Rahsmariah Bey and Cujo Agwael up in Canaan land.
Peace, Hotep, Islam.
Say it again, or you're going to address the line.
You hear me clear? Islam for the Moors. Peace, love, and Hotep.
I have to mute my phone. We usually have a different type of setup, so of course we don't have that with us today, so we are doing a workaround. So we're going to be adjusting as we go along. All right, so you have a mic?
Yeah, you have a mic.
All right. Oh, all right. So, all right. So we are here near what they call Capitol Heights, of course, at Northwest Amexem, and we're going to be taking. How are we going to do this? Are we going to be taking questions, or we're just going to have a candid conversation, or what are we doing?
What we're going to do is this.
All right.
What I was thinking is that there were some things that we wanted to share, put forth, like those right there, clear the air. There were some other things that we wanted to put forth on the that we were going to put forth that's on the site. That you could go to the site and the front page of the site if you haven't been there lately, and you could find some information on Russia. Right? Anybody been in there lately? Just got put on. Who said yes? Back then. And the reason we did that, Brother Ms. Rahim, we was aware of it was at the time to pull that information. That is always been there because we're the Aboriginal and Indigenous people on all four corners of the earth, including what you know is Russia today. And so he pulls out the pictures for proof of things. And that is why Ali said this is the 19th of what? Asia. Because Asia is the name of the entire planet. Asia, meaning lower realm. So Asia Major, Asia Minor, some of us have learned about Asia Minor in school, but it wasn't here because we're standing on Asia Major. They were talking about Asia Minor. So we also put up Alyenka, which is a national hero, so-called Mexican of Amexem, right? So that meant, because if you saw the other one, you saw that. Because the Europeans are trying to, they're always trying to supplant your birthright. You're the true American nationals. Moor and American is the same thing. So we put that up because the so-called Mexicans put up that fine that if you think that I am, if you think I'm a foreigner and do your history because I'm at home. All of this is to bring together that we're all one family. They're in one national operation, which is the L's and the Base, right? Lawmakers and the law enforcement. So with that, I was going to show that up here, but we have a little problem. But anybody listening, or when you go get an opportunity to go to your computer, just go on the front page and you will see those things. So the information again about workers, since they're talking about, I remember a long time ago, somehow I got to find it, they said that the bear shall go up against the eagle. Now remember, the eagle. This is the main thing that we want to be clear, then we're going to answer the question. Because it's most important. You are not a citizen of the United States of America. You are not a citizen or a resident of any of these states because they were formed for the modern Europeans under the United States of America. And as long as you think that you are, you're never going, I don't care what it is you do, think or go, you're going nowhere. That's it, because they know you don't know because you're under the jurisdiction by saying so. This is important, and if you don't have this right, nothing else that you attempt to do will ever be right. And trust, we're going to go into that, right?
Yes.
We definitely going to flatten out this birth certificate redemption crap because the birth certificate is fully an issue on its face, so you need to do this shot. That doesn't say who you are. Never did. Matter of fact, you say it's not you. But first you say it is you how many times? 3 times. Then you say it's not you, and that's taking it out into another country and people somewhere. It's ludicrous, and it's only going to last for a minute, like everything else, right? And then they're going to start personating more, fraud, identity fraud. We want to be and do everything. We have to be who we are. There's no such thing as the American Indian. It doesn't exist. The natives are you and I. The Native Americans are you and I. Just because they stole that terminology, you have to take it back because it doesn't belong. The main thing is that we really do get that this is nation time, and I think we do. And then by doing that, we will get into today one of the most important things, and that is, if we're talking about nationality and birthright, we are absolutely talking about where it comes from, which is the one. If this is about nationality and birthright, right? Where do you get nationality from? How many people are going to tell me from your father? Be honest. Who believes that it comes from your father? Oh, nobody in this room? Good. Good. So that sounds right. So then you believe or know that it's from the mother, right? Okay, so this is why aren't you more active then? Because this is really about you being active. It doesn't matter whether the son's sitting next, because there's nothing on the planet but mother and son, that's all. They're not fathers. They're not. The husband means housewife. Whose house they mind is yours. That's what a husband is. It's domestic, a housewife. He buys your house. Mm-hmm. The thinking that we have patriarchal, that it is other than that, which is a suppression of the woman and unable to lead her, or to leading her to be unable to take her place amongst their fellow men. So what nationality is about birthright is given to you by your mother, right? And we know birth is given to by mother. Then I think you decision where you are. Where are you? Excuse me, that's important. Where are you with this? You must wake up. The other thing that we're going to go into in detail that I'm going to say, I need to bring to the text about what was it? Childhood. But right. Now, a part of the kind of nationality, but we can get out of that so far obligation is just not an obligation. You don't have any jurisdictional religion. But you easily take that position, right? However, now he talks about he wants to his children. Why they're not the children at home? You've got to get this figured out. Two, she's the one whose father started trying to go to child support, so therefore her father is the state organization that are going to come after you because she said so. Do you understand that? Because if we were a nation of people, mother and father, we wouldn't even be reporting this stuff to these corporate. I'm sorry, sister, you find another way. You shouldn't be ought not be reporting any of that to a foreign jurisdiction or anyone outside of your family in the first place. If there's an issue with not having sons that seem to be responsible, or whatever you want to call it, in your mind to assist you, because it's supposed to assist you. If that's the issue, it's a moral and ethical issue, but it don't belong down in City Hall. And until we get to that place, we're not going to get anywhere either. Because that is a family issue. So now, even once you say that, some brothers say, I told them that I'm not playing, I don't have to assist you, And then I'm just because me and I'm not paying taxes, but then it turns out, but I want to see my children, but she got them down there in the jurisdiction of God. So now that's what we do in order to figure out the cases. You see why it's a lose-lose situation? Consistent. Come out of that. And then there may be a couple other things to discuss, but reading. Okay. Who do you want? Yes. So I assume it's this for him, right? Yes. Okay, so this is going to happen. Yes. All right. So then I'm all right. I mean, should I do this tonight? You said it's all? Yeah. Okay, I need it. It's all. Mm-hmm. You should. It's not all. So, I'm saying these things because I think we need to set the stage first. In other words, when someone comes and talks to you and tells you stuff, if you don't have the right concept of it, what is the difference? You're going to use the information wrong. We see it all the time. It's being used wrong because this is about nationality and birthright, which means this has got to wake up to deal with this, period. So my point was, all of the brothers could be cool. Because there is no, like I said, son. My son, that's it, that's all. When you marry him, you just married some other mother's son. He's born a mother's son, he's going to pass this life as a mother's son. He's going to born and die on. That's it, no matter how many so-called wives he has. That's who he is. It's mom and son. We raise our sons to assist another one of our sisters in their life and life where they're bringing in their children to populate and to make up the society. And with that, as society starts with family, who's under the authority? The common family. That's why it's about the people. It's the true government. Now, back to what, there's just little things that must be clear. Stop saying you are a citizen of the state of Maryland. Now, the state of Maryland is interesting because we got emails that, the state of Maryland suspended the Constitution. Really? Did the state of Maryland suspend the Constitution? No. They had not the power to suspend the Constitution, and if any of our people actually believe that, it only let us know how much there was no studying going on. Mm-hmm. That's all it did. Is that there's no real studying going on if you think so. And people move on and make decisions or whatever they do based on that falseness of fact. That's not, truth and falsehood is strangely mixed already. And that brings me to another thing. Some people say, I'm telling my brethren about this, but you got to meet people where they are, right? So people will say they're black because they understand black, right? Well, it's simple. They probably know that you always think you were black just to meet you where you were. I'm just saying, it's simple. You're not a Negro call it a black. But if you can't say it that simple, and if they can't accept that, there's no need to have any other discussions, especially in these days. There's a lot of people working, we all work as agents for or against something, right? So there's a lot of people working against this movement, against this activity, because movement means life. So don't let nobody think, it's just a movement. It's not that. It's life. It's movement. So there are many who work against it because they refuse to make their changes. Like many have been doing. That's another thing. I'm just going to get this out of myself. Naturalization. I know that there's a lot of naturalization information going on down in this area because the resources of people who do naturalization. You hear what I say? Naturalization. And at this point, that's why I'm going to turn it over to Anaid to explain exactly who that is for. But before I do, I want you to know that if anybody wants to naturalize you in your own land, they are trying to put you back into slavery, and they have I didn't want to take that far. They have assumed that you are an alien. Guaranteed. How many of you have looked up what naturalization is? Yes. How many of you realize that it's for the aliens to bring them into another government? Right? Adoption, as a matter of fact. Only person getting adopted here was the European. So why would you be adopted into your own government? All right. So how many of you think, well, all right, so then it says that the only person that can naturalize is one who was a sovereign themselves already, correct? So the person that's naturalizing you is making it say that they already a sovereign, right? Because it has to be the sovereign or the representative of the sovereign nation, right? So why is he or she a sovereign and you a naturalized being? Think about that. Oh, but that's right. Maybe they're not sovereign. They're naturalized also. They have considered themselves as an alien in their own land. And then they say that they're citizens of who? The United States of America. Am I right now? Yes. You cannot be a citizen of the United States of America. It represents the Union States that came together. You can't be that. You can be an American citizen of American citizenship, which means that you would be the national. And if it weren't for the national, there wouldn't even be any need to have any citizenship rights in the first place. Do you follow? Do you follow? So if you're the national who dictates citizenship rights for the other citizens, then you probably know what you already say, enforce the Constitution, that you are not elected by who? Other citizens? Other citizens? That's not you. So these are these other citizens, subject citizens, naturalized citizens, and aliens. None of them are you, right? Right? So they're not talking about you, right? You're the national. Take that place. You could never be a citizen of the United States of America because all of that is for aliens. And with that, the true oath, one last thing. I see your hand. Hold on. Prime Minister title. Anybody come and you say, "What? I'm a Prime Minister"? They're talking about their British. That's a British title. Well, it's a British job. It's a British job, yeah. And with that equated would be what?
Well, actually, it's the English job.
English, yeah, English.
It's the English job. And if you know the definition,
Yeah, that's for the internal. Yeah.
All right. If you know how many people know the definition of English?
Oh, yeah, that's what I really have to do with.
Anybody?
Oxford Dictionary.
Oxford Dictionary, Englishman is but a hybrid.
That's the definition.
All right.
So you get a war company and talk about I'm a prime minister. It's English.
Prime Minister is English. So when you're reading, you gotta look at world history. Because our history as a Moor is worldwide. You can't compartmentalize it here because we're Moors and we are one of 5 families all around planet Earth. So the British Moors is our cousins. They are British. When you start hearing the term English, that's when the hybrids get in. Yes. And they infiltrated the family. And
like they do now.
They infiltrated the family. And the way the infiltration began and continues to this day is misinformation first and foremost. They had to miseducate us in terms of true biology. They had to give the how many people, I know it's kind of worse, but how many people saw the movie Dreamgirls? And in there, the character that was played by Beyonce, she said to the son, give me a child. I want a child. See, that's the lack of information for sisters. Because you came here with all your children in your womb already.
That's the nation. Hold on a moment. You had your hand up, but I want you to explain what naturalization is again. Go ahead. Oh, yeah.
Your parents came here and
they got pilgrims.
and because you were pilgrims?
Pilgrims, yeah. And there's no secret. There's no secret that the Europeans are foreign to this land. We're the only ones that act like we just woke up yesterday to that fact. They call themselves Europeans, too. I know. I understand what you're saying. They're modern Europeans. They say they came over on what? The news of into the effect of Merida? Mm-hmm. Which means they're telling you that they're not, this is not their own. But the problem is they got something called Homeland Security, as if this is your home. But the real problem is we will not seem to stand up and take our place amongst your fellow man and claim our own ancestral estate. That is really the problem. You can sit there and do all kinds of emotional things you want, and then you go through this, but the real deal is that we refuse or have so far to do that. That's it, and that's all, because now the Pope just came and said to them on the Congress floor that they were immigrants, right? And foreigners. That's what he said to them in the Congress floor. If you don't know that, look it up. It's our time. We're supposed to just claim our nationality, claim our state. But we are still kind of mixed up about it. But that amount of Europeans, they don't deny it. And you would say when you go into the five, like we wanted to go into, as you said, they were abandoned once before, and the Pope just came there. Father, no, Pope means Vicar, V-I-C-A-R, which means substitute God. And he came and abandoned them once again. So now, abandoned them, and now it's just our time. It's our time. We have to do this, or else we're going to walk ourselves right back into, a situation, but not until after this bloodbath that is happening already. It's not that it's going to happen. It's going on now. Happening. Yeah. So the titles of what we're going to say, we're going to get that out the way. The Tsar would be Russian. Tsar.
People run around here, and they're calling themselves king. Now, a king is a British job. It really means that you have been elected to represent the family. That's Great Britain. In France, the head of the family is called the Dauphin. In Russia, it's the Tsar. Prime Minister British. It's the Tsar. Over here it's the Sultan, and in Rome it's called the Pope. There's 5 jobs. They represent the 5 families of planet Earth. So if you look at the history, if every representative of the family does not represent the best interest of the family, they are physically removed. That's history. That's why we have to study world history to know this. And then you might not be so eager to raise your hand and call yourself a king. Because that means you're supposed to be working on the best interests of the family, and if you're not, the rest of the family can decide to not just remove you, but eliminate you. Because, you never, ever take sides against the family. You just don't. But what's happening is the universe is doing it. Yeah. It's like since we've been, hard-hearted and hard-headed, like they say, and I think I say, it says, I hold my hand out so hard-hearted and it's done to people who are not called by my name. If they would repent from their sinful ways, I will hear in heaven, they would undermine, and heal their what? Live. That's what it says in the Bible. And then there's real text. For all those who say they're Christians, but you can't be Christians either. But that's the whole class. But you know what? Christian. Well, first, somebody got slow walk. You do have a slow walk, but I'm going to do that. First thing is, if you would just simply read the Intercomparative Being, you would understand the Christian
could be in the religious faction that they established intent. And by doing that, you can quickly say, oh, no. Now you might say, why are they doing this or whatever? Because it's really creeping, which is skin disease. They're decreasing in the respect of the name. In other words, they'll take names. You can be something in name only. You know what I'm saying? Like the Christian energy of being crystal clear and pure and Christ-like and pure. You don't feel that. But it's hard for those who don't have knowledge of that to separate it from being a Christian that they interjected in, which comes from them, that having skin disease, basically, and wanting to be Christ-like and crystal clear and pure, but they can't imitate the Christ ray, which is the sun ray. Do you see? That's their desire. Just like they go out and they want to get a tan when they don't like you. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't have that knowledge, because remember Yahshua said, my people suffer from what? Lack of knowledge, so we should be all about the knowledge. So if you don't have that information, you can accept what's being said about Christian because, you know, you're upset about it. Well, I'm a Christian and my mama was a Christian and my daddy was a Christian. No, you're not and you can't be for obvious reasons. So, you know, we just have to study. That's a bad word. And have knowledge of certain things and make it come together. But as I said, the universe is doing it for us. You can't make somebody else do anything. How many, you know, we used to be here before a few years back, and we had the book set up there and everything like that, right? And, you know, we came this time and, you know, really wasn't coming back. No. You came a few times, but we were here. We really were intended to come for 5 weeks. We ended up being here for a year and a half, or something like that. You know, and that just reminds me, because we traveled the way we did, coming from somewhere else, anyone who does want books that I didn't bring, if you order them today, you know, you can order them, and I'm going to take off any mailing, and I have a sheet that you can check off today. And I won't charge any mailing. That'll be my gift. And, you know, we'll put them in the mail as soon as we get back. All right? But let's move on and get back to what we want to say.
Naturalization. How many people have studied the whole Naturalization Act?
Oh, that's right.
Just want to clear that up a little bit. Anybody? Nobody?
No.
All right. Well, what exactly did you study? All right, that's a good place to start. Looking up definitions is absolutely a good place to start. Yeah, now, there's a lot of confusion about the whole naturalization process, the Naturalization Act, and let's see, there was talk that there was a Naturalization Act in 1790. How many people have heard about the Naturalization Act of 1790? All right. Really? Because I never saw it. But what I did was, because I like to be clear, because sometimes people will explain something to you, and you're getting their opinion, which is not a bad thing, because it might spark your interest. But I like to go and read whatever source they read and see if I come to the same conclusion. And I can tell you, I did not. I went and pulled the 1790 Naturalization Act. How many people know what the definition of free white person is? Free white person? 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably you know. All right, and the definition of free white person, you know, it does not include the modern European, correct? Well, the Naturalization Act, the first line says that it is for free white persons. First line. First line. That means that it automatically does not, naturalization does not apply to modern Europeans. So the question to ask today is, what exactly are they naturalizing into? Because the other part of that is, if it's not for modern Europeans, who is it for? And it tells you in the 1790 Naturalization Act, it is for brutish Moors or Moors that are not from Al-Moor. But it specifies the brutish Moors, and there is a qualification. They can only be naturalized into this particular part of the Moorish family if they did not participate in the war against the Moors here. That's in the Naturalization Act of 1790. That's the qualification. So now you might be wondering, well, if they're Moors and we're Moors, why would we do that? For the same reason, Malcolm X went over to Mecca. They said, we embrace you, brother, and you have full protection as a member of the family. But your inheritance is back where you came from. They're just making sure that you are protected as family. You're not becoming family. You already are family. Now, the difference between the modern Europeans is they have to be adopted into a Moorish family somewhere on planet Earth because they are not a member of any of the five families because they were created outside of nature. So the only way that they can have protection is one of the Moorish families adopt them and clothe them with some type of protection. And if you read the congressional records, it shows you how when they came over here as the slaves. And I'm telling you that, right? But if you read the Declaration of Independence, it's right there. How many people have read the Declaration of Independence? Read it. Because they tell you exactly how they came over here. They came over here as slaves. So, and what's interesting is that happened about 300-400 years ago. Yet every February 1st, the Moors of Madrid al-Aqsa, who changed places with the modern Europeans, call themselves Negro-colored black and talk about we've been slaves for 300-400 years. You was heard. You was muted. And you was heard because you were coming from that. Yes. Okay, so I'll leave that off. Apologies for that. Yeah, so they were always the slaves. But you have to read. This is why the prophet said study, study, study. And I know everybody's saying, oh, it's the Anaid, always telling us to study, study. Because it's important. It is so important that you study. Because what's going to happen is you are going to be challenged. Let me just put that on the table up front. You're going to be challenged. There's no get out of this card that you can come up with. There's no paper. There's no card. There's no embassy, because you can't have an embassy on your own land. There's no bunch of people. There's no representatives, because as long as you do not have a representative form of government, you got to study and you have got to know, because you're going to be challenged. This is not for the faint of heart. So if you don't have the strength and courage to stand on your study and be able to defend your bloodline, you know what? You might want to not step up to that line yet, because you're going to be challenged.
Can I say this? So that brings us to another thing. You said about the embassy. We're kind of getting stuff out of the way. People say, oh, we're going to install an embassy. You don't put embassies on your own land. So if someone tells you that, they don't know. But the other part is when you said, what you just said, you're going to be, just lost my train of thought on that, challenged. Yes. But it's not so much that, get out of jail, not get out of jail, get out of stuff. Quick fix. Yeah. There's people out there saying that what we do is a quick fix for the people. I mean, literally someone who's a representative in a temple, a grand sheik in one of these crazy temples that are all discombobulated because they don't know that this is about law, order, and governing principles, which is what religion is. The prophet didn't bring that. No, they have not studied. They think that what we bring is a quick fix. So, yeah. But they've been around for 100 years and haven't fixed it yet, right? But what we bring is what is a quick fix? The quick fix would be, let's just acquiesce and say this is the state while all this stuff is going on where the universe is testing and you to say, is you ain't. I know that's improper English, but you understand what I'm saying. You either are or you are not. You're either going to defend your own bloodline and honor your own mothers and fathers, or your day when the earth plane just will not be listen, and you will probably be, therefore, people in that respect will go out and continue to march, and they might just end their lives right there. You see? That's where that, this whole thing it's becoming so clear now. Where are you? Are you with yet? Are you honoring your mothers and fathers by name and by principle? This is about bloodline. Right? So the quick, so if it was that quick, now I tell you who's going to be quick for the younger generation. It's going to be quick for them. The information that we share, it's going to be quick for them. They're going to pick it up because they're not burdened and connected with a lot of ties and strings to the fiction stuff that makes them, they're not. That's why, and I understand why Prophet always said this is for the young and young boys. Now, it doesn't mean it's not for all of us in here, because every sister in here is still can bear fruit, you know? Got the nation in her womb anyway, so you may be the next one to have that young and young born. Of course you are. Because the young and young born are in your womb. So if you know, you teach them while you're in the womb. So with that, I'm saying that the Bible said that everybody would be forced to make changes in order to be correct. We have to come together as one family, and we have to do the studies to understand who is who and what is what. It's not what. Cujo, are you there? I'm going to use scuffles in
Islam.
Islam.
Oh, I'm clear?
Yeah.
All right. Islam to all the Moors that's present. Peace and love. And it's a good lesson so far, so I'll just yield for right now. And going on. It's pretty hot over there. It's like soup over there.
All right. We're rolling. All right. We're rolling. We're just trying to set out certain fundamental things so we can, really build on some things. And before we get into the part that's going to probably be really good, and that's all those questions about What was it you voted down? Discharge, the discharge.
You know.
The discharge. I thought it was.
Oh, good.
The discharge.
Yeah, I would like to say something as well, just to put something on the table, because a lot of times we hear this. We hear a lot of these modern Europeans running around, and they always say United States.
Yeah.
Right? You hear them, they're always speaking, they say United States, but they leave off the qualification or the qualifier. They say United States and leave off of America. Do you know who the United States is? Who is the United States? Who is the United States? Anybody? Well, you need to know who is the United States and who is the United States of America. Because it ain't us. We are not the United States of America. We are the United States of Al-Morocco. Qualification always dropped off, right? Just like you hear the words, we're Americans, right? Modern Europeans running around, we're Americans, but they drop the qualification. They are American citizens.
They're not American.
We are American nationals. So you have to know those qualifications, which they intentionally and more than likely conveniently leave off to muddy up the waters. It's absolutely deceptive.
And you know what? Like you just said, United States. I myself, and many of us, didn't know the difference when the United States was said and United States of America. So it was the same thing too. But upon study, you find out the United States is a metaphor. It is for the people. It is an interface.
Yes.
For us, the people, to interface with the United States of America and anyone else that might be a citizen. That's what we kind of are behind or hide behind, if you will. We're private. We are the people, and you get it? So now we'll go with the United States, not knowing that no, we're not the United States. It's a metaphor, it's an interface for us. It's an interface for us to interface with others.
Yeah. So if you read the preamble, how many people would speak? When I was in elementary school, believe it or not, we had to memorize the preamble to the American Constitution. How many people had to memorize it? Now, back in my day, we had a record, and they played the record over and over and over again, and they created this little song. How many people remember Schoolhouse Rock? I'm so dating myself. So are all of you. Schoolhouse Rock, after school program, and that's how I learned the preamble, because I had to learn it to get out of elementary school into middle school. So I learned it, but I never really heard what I was saying.
No.
We, the people, wait, how did it go? We, the people, I got to remember the song.
What are you doing?
We, the people, in order to form
you mean the preamble?
Union.
Oh, we got that. We the people of the United States.
We the people of the United States.
In order to form a perfect union, the mass. Go ahead, sister. You know what I'm going to find it. Look.
Ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense. Promote the general welfare. And secure the blessings of the liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. There's two entities.
We the people of the United States, blah, 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 for the United States of America. Write it one sentence. That was all one sentence.
How many people saw that? All the time you've been repeating it.
How many?
I never saw it until I you know when I saw it? When we did the analysis of the American Constitution 1791. How many people listened to that broadcast? If you didn't, you can go back to the MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. This is our third year. We never thought we would have any Blog Talk Radio show, and this is our third year. This is done under Sisters Standing on Law. You can go to the RVBey Publications website, and we had a syllabus for each class. It was 13 classes, one class a month. We went through the entire American Constitution in 13 months. How appropriate. 13 months. So you can go to RVBey Publications, you can download the syllabus, and you can go to the archives and listen to the class. Took us a year and a month, but we also found out how many people always hear these states. We're making laws, right? They say that, right? We're writing law. The state of Maryland is writing laws. No, they're not. Oh, you know why? Something else we learned in our study. In Article 1 of the American Constitution says that all legislative power is vested in the Congress of the United States. Not the United States of America. And guess what? The United States, all of the seats of the United States, which is us, are empty. Because we left our seats in 1861 and we haven't returned. And guess what? There's been no laws written since 1861. And they tell you this, right? Right? They tell you this. You know why? Because everything that they write is called a statute. Now, a statute is not a law, correct? Now, a statute is not a law, but what it is the policy on procedure on how to execute the law. The President of the United States of America is vested in, executive power is vested in the one President of the United States of America. Now, if we have studied, we know what executive means, right? Right? Exactly. They can execute the laws that have been written, but they cannot write any laws. This is why they're constantly writing statutes, because they can't write laws. And if they presume to tell you this, that's all you have to do is pull out the supreme law of this land and show them Article 1, which reads, check this out. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Now, before we go on, Papa knows you already said that your only salvation is to enforce the Constitution, right? So you got to understand it. So if you find anyone who doesn't even know it, how is it possible, including yourself, how is it possible to enforce it, right? But what we want to show here is that the one that shows that there's a President of the United States. And in Article 2, it says the President of the United States of America enforces the executive, which means they enforce law. All these people in the United States of America, which are the states, are out there with private security guards, right? They're supposed to be enforcing the law, right? Executing it.
But they're telling you that they just created a law yesterday and you violated the next day. They can't do that. They can't create the law. So if all is vested in Congress of the United States, then it tells you how it shall be composed. You know, the representative members chosen and how it's chosen. When you get to the Article 2, Section 7, it even tells you what she's saying about how a law is established, right? You ever read that? How statutes that are proposed as law, right? That come from either the House or the Senate, right? Right? The House can present it, the Senate or the House of Representatives or the Senate. Now, if I'm the House and I present it, and the President of the United States, that's not there because that should be our representative. But like you said, in the end, when you walked out and said it here, this is what the study is. So if I'm in the House and I present it, and you're the President, and you say, I don't like it, I don't want it, I'll get no. Then I go back to the Senate, and if I get 2/3, whether the President likes it or not is going down, correct? That's what it says. It's right here. It's not even a conflict. It's right here in the book. However, when that goes down, that means that whoever voted against the President and said no, but to admit who they are and who said yay and who said yay, right? Now you know who's with them and who's not. All right. Then if they get to 2/3, he has the President. They submit it back to him, and he has 10 days to sign it, or he cannot sign it because he doesn't want to, right? Doesn't matter whether he signs it or not. They got the 2/3, correct? So remember, we're talking about the President of the United States. Now, the only way, now after that, it has to be ratified or promulgated, which means the Secretary of State has to publish it, not some other publishing company over there, the Secretary of State, Department of State, all right? The only way it cannot become law whether they got 2/3 or not. What's the only way? Anybody know? Now you're going to understand the importance of Senate bill. The only way that it can't become law, whether the President agrees or not, is if Congress was in Senate bill. How long Congress been in Senate? 1861, Congress been in Senate bill. The President walked out, basically was telling the Europeans, okay, no, I ain't got nothing else to say to y'all. And it's right in the congressional records, and the way he says it is so smooth. It's like, you know what, I got you, Europeans. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to dissolve you right now. I ain't coming back. You ain't wasting my time. And that's what happened, and that is for us, and we don't know. Because none of the stuff they do is law. John Hanson was one of the first presidents which took a term of a year. That is the United States. That's what we're talking about. See, that's the distinction and the difference. He wasn't the president of the United States of America, because that was the Continental Congress that was going on prior to the United States of America, who had presidents who took a year term. That's what we're talking about. So now, here's going to set this straight. And we would all really get that the only reason we even established the Constitution, this Constitution, is for the fact that we had to adopt other citizens into our government body. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't even have it. But it is built on ancient principles. That's it, not all. That's how we did it. We didn't have it. We didn't need it before. So we had to start, thinking about that. We brought them here, so we had to be responsible. So with that, if we walked out, that's what it says in the rules. And here's the glorious part. Even though we walked out with Senate bill, and there ain't no new laws, the ones that already exist are sufficient enough to preserve and protect your liberties. If we can do it, it's sufficient enough to do so. But if you start listening to the country we made a law the other day and you just violate it because you don't know what it is, this is sufficient enough. That's what the prophet said to enforce it.
Yes. Now, I know that a lot of us, we get, I would say, beyond ourselves. Once you get this information, you get so excited, you want to do stuff. My position has always been, you ought not be doing anything until you have studied for a minimum of 1 year. And I mean study, which means if I wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning out of a deep sleep and I ask you anything, you should be able to just rattle it off. No tripping over your teeth, tongue, and lips. No, let me call somebody and find out that answer. Because let me tell you, when your behind is on the line, you ain't got time to make a phone call. You don't have time to make a phone call. You've got to know now. And that's why we're constantly asking questions like, one of the things that people love to go and say when they're challenged, whether it's, as you're traveling on the land or you go into one of these meeting rooms they call a course, they call this the Navigear, and people get into this discussion about, well, that's the straw man. Most people have no clue what that means. Nope. And like I said, they are going to challenge you because they know 9 times out of 10 we have not done the appropriate studying. So they will ask a simple question. But the clue here is looking at that message, just hold on a minute. The clue here is if you here's the clue. If you get a presentment, the best way to handle it is to write your dissertation or your cause of action and your deposition and send it in. Do not talk once you get to this meeting room. Send your responses ahead. That way, if you're shaky, you can always say, my wrist pursued me, and shut up. Because sometimes less is more. Unintended. But less is more. But you want to understand what this whole straw man thing is, because you don't want to get up in front of a bunch of strangers and look incompetent, because then they'll throw a 730 examination at you. You know what a 730 examination is? Does everybody know what a 730 examination is?
Well, New York is 7:30 in different.
I think it's the same.
No.
Well, a 7:30 examination is a mental competency test. Because when you start talking about the straw man, that's the straw man, they think, oh, this person, we don't know if they're mentally competent. Let's test them. Because you're not able to explain what that means. You're just throwing straw. Oh, that's the straw man. What does that mean? Say that again? But you would be so surprised how many people throw that language on the table when they go into these meeting rooms.
But that's the other thing. They are meeting through. What do you say, Cuba?
No, I just wanted to make a comment with regard to that. Out here, what we started utilizing out here that's effective is X-relation. Anytime you use the quote-unquote straw man name.
Right.
So don't say fictitious entity or corporate entity or whatever. Say X-relation. So Kujo Adwa L, X-relation, that name. Whenever you're speaking the corporate people. That way your nationality is on the record. So they can't deny that. and then the straw name's on the record, so now they can't ex parte the case and start issuing bench warrants and stuff for say that you weren't there because you didn't say that you're that name.
Right. Excellent point.
Because XRL, go look it up. We have it on the site. Yeah, it's under the jurisprudence page, the whole article on XRL. And like it's who's bigger than life and like you put XRL, John Smith or whatever. And it says, what do you mean you had an ex relationship before you go? Remember that was joking. But if you read it, it means that you definitely have information regarding that non-begeer. You will use non-begeer because non-begeer means a fictitious name, a born name, a name assumed for a time. All of that applies. So you're saying I have information regarding that because it's not real. Because you know that it's a fiction, right, that you've been answering to. But like he said, don't say that. Say what it is in law. And that's what the prophet meant when he said, do not throw away the name, to use XRL with the lawful manner in which to deal with that. Not intercorporation, made, because even before, well, I won't say before they went corporate, but that's not what he meant. He meant the lawful position for that is called XRL, ex-relation.
Yes. And which brings us to how many people, I know you guys have to have heard of this birthright, birth certificate redemption process that's been going around. Okay. You've heard of it?
Oh, they've done it. Did you heard of it? Yeah, some of them done it.
Well, that's so old. In 2008, when I was doing my studies, my Europeans were trying to use that as a way of healing our birthright. And it didn't work, so they threw it in the trash, and unfortunately we got some more that went in the trash and pulled it out.
You can't tell them nothing. Because they, I'm going to get in 6 months, I'm going to have almost 8 million. I would love to find out.
It is so fraudulent. And I'm going to tell you a little bit. You can go research it. Some of you might know how many mothers here with children. Mothers with children?
Okay.
All right. I don't know how they do it down here, but I know up north, if you go and get a birth certificate outside, it says registrar. Does it say that down here?
Mm-hmm.
Registrar?
In Canaan land, it does too.
Registrar.
Registrar General. Oh, here.
All right. A registrar is somebody who is registering fixtures of a company/corporation. Now, if you do a little bit of research, and I did research for this area, they have a company charter. Have you pulled it? Have you looked at it? A charter is a document that explains what the company is going to do, and it must be approved. In today's language, that would be called a business plan. You're familiar with the business plan, right? Well, you're familiar with the charter. The county corporation in this area was and still is a company. The fixtures that they registered was modern European. Now, were they the original slaves? And they were the original slaves, but you got to understand the language. Slave is referring to Slavic. You were never the Slavic, therefore you could never be the slave. You were enslaved ultimately, but let me tell you, the only reason that we were enslaved is because we were busy fighting with each other, much like we are today. Amen. And we still have not learned our lesson, which is what this is all about. It's about uniting the family. If we could just learn to love, this would be over. Just like the prophet said, it's a breakfast fight. It'll be over by breakfast. If we can get it now, it'll be over by breakfast. It's just that simple. When you're traveling on the land and you're going through your day-to-day affairs, you ought to be looking at people who are just like you and knowing, even if they don't recognize it, you know that's family. When you do your interacting with people that are just like you want to know that's family, and you never take sides against the family. Because the universe, Mother Nature, I'm going to dig myself so bad. How many people remember that parquet commercial? It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. I'm fantastic. But this is one patriarchal influence of the generations that we're not aware of how serious that is. You know, how really serious it is. But, you know, I think we're getting there now. I think, I'm pretty sure. But while you're talking about what's real and what is not, this F-756 form, to go into the F-56, let me just set the stage why I'm even bringing it up, because I know some of you, how many of you use that form or think you need to use that form? I heard they're using that form. To go into the court to remind the judge, and the judge says fiduciary duty. It's a signing of fiduciary responsibility or so-called termination. Here is the qualification. First of all, it's an Internal Revenue Service Corporation form. Yes. That should be a big push. That should be the first big push. Unless you're ready to go toe-to-toe, go to guns, you ain't wanting to mess with the Internal Revenue Service, not at this stage. So they have the ability to wipe you out. They can take everything from you. So you don't want to mess around presuming to use any of their documents. That's number one. Number two, you first got to be in a lawfully seated court with a lawful judge before we can even talk about fiduciary duty. You see, this is where us studying comes into play, because many of us, we think that the police is government. Come on now. I know all of you thought the police was government just like I did until I started studying. I know a lot of the motor vehicle issues, you thought it was government until you started studying. You never would have dreamed that it was simply a demand for income by highwaymen. Definition / mercenary. Let me get the definition of highwayman. And what was I listening to? The president of Russia threw the United States of America under the bus. How many have been listening to Serbia? Is it Serbia? And the terrorists? Syria, thank you, Syria, and the so-called terrorists, and the so-called bombing and murdering of the French nationals. They literally said the French nationals, and I know that went over a lot of people's heads. Yet it came out that the so-called Islamic terrorist was a modern European in disguise. Oh, we do that. Well, we're glad that it came out. They've always been. It came out, the witness said, it wasn't a so-called Islamic, it was a modern European. But you got to know the history between France and the United States of America. Because the United States of America sent some mercenaries to try and assassinate the French president. And they've had bad relations ever since. So now Russia is trying to get intel from the United States of America, and they're calling the United States of America saying, hey, we need help. And the United States of America sent them a telegram talking about we ain't participating. So they're dropping bombs, and then the United States of America says, hey, you're dropping the bombs in the wrong places. Sounds like a setup, right? And so Russia says, well, where should we drop the bombs? The United States of America doesn't say anything. So now Russia, foreign nationals, as well as France, foreign nationals, hook up with who? Is it Syria?
Yes.
Syria? And Syria says, hey, don't drop any bombs over here. So Russia says, okay. Now the United States of America is like, oh, shoot, the national family is closing ranks against the stepchild,
which is the United States.
Let's close off the borders because we don't know who is who anymore.
In the meantime, we are then you have Hillary Clinton, modern European, Donald Trump, modern European, Jeb Bush, idiot, modern European, talking about let's not let any of these Islamic religious people in, only Christian people. Did they really say that? They against we shouldn't know religious sect. Hell, you people came over here under the religious protection. And we let you in. Now you're going to come in and hijack our land, talking about close off the borders to the Islam. But in the Barbary Treaty, Article 11, it says the United States of America is not founded on Christian religion. Page 535, you'll see if you study. Also, in the book in his speech when Obama went over to Cairo, Egypt, he's in there. He tells you that this was built on Islam.
Yeah.
And the history, there's ipso jure. We say ipso jure, you're a Moor or you're a Moorish subject. If you have a claim, whatever your nationality is, and or some naturalization, that's for other people. Somewhere else. So it is very, very clear that this country was never built on Christian. Matter of fact, if it were, when they came over with the Inter Divina, we were already here, right? Mm-hmm. They were trying to bring Christianity. And their God, whoever that wicked God is, told them that if you didn't convert to their religion of Christianity, that it was all right to kill you. Mm-hmm. They said that we were pagans, not knowing that pagan means one who treats of the earth, grows food, takes care of the earth. It's not a bad word. But you believe in it if you think you're a Christian. You know it's true because that's the lack of study and knowledge, right? So with that being said, how are they going to say close off the borders and only let Christians in? Because we as Moors have not stood up and taken our place amongst the affairs and because the powers and the people. However, we did have everyone send over to Hillary Clinton back in 2012. She stood up behind the Moroccan flag and said the first people to recognize us was who? Morocco. Let's talk about that for a second. The distinction between Morocco, the empire, Al-Morocco, and Morocco, the kingdom. Because lately, Moors who don't study and who are in fact looking for a quick fix never paid attention to the fact that the Moroccan kingdom is not the Moroccan empire. No matter how much we will tell them, because there's people who will pull you into that because they know that you are able to make finance from you because they know that you don't study enough to know the difference. And they will be there to suck your blood, literally, almost, really, yeah. Watch Lincoln the Vampire Hunter, literally. So a lot of people think that Morocco is a kingdom. I even have someone that said what? That the treaty was done by Morocco, the kingdom?
Yeah.
And they're telling people that. And they believe that. And they made a new flag and everything for the Moorish nation. And I tried to find out why are these people making a new flag with the sword and LTPSA, which means love, truth, freedom, peace, freedom, and justice, which is correct. That is, but that's not what the flag is. Right. And so I was told, well, you know, by someone who's a part of that so-called group or whatever, who believes that the treaty was made by the Moroccan kingdom, which means they didn't study, that the Moors aren't ready to stand up under their own flag. Can you imagine? And that's why they changed the flag. Really? What is the description of the flag? Now, truthfully, the original flag that flew for over 50,000 is the white flag with the crescent. When we start, that's the Moabite sisters flag. That's the Moabite nation. And there ain't a sun out there that's going to be flying that until she was That's the true flag that flew, but they don't tell you that because they are patriarchal thinking. Patriarchal thinking mind, they're white out the truth about those who give birth, who come here with the nation already in the womb, who only need to spark one of those eggs to flame. Makes the son feel extremely uncomfortable, but that is just the truth. That is just the truth. Take your place, but that is the truth. So we want people to get a little upset about that, but it's the truth. So with that, we're saying that we really have to stop being lazy. Remember, the prophet said, "You've never done anything except read the point of the sword." Well, the point of the sword is coming to stick you in your rear. What you going to do in your hind department? We talked about that with my cousin. What you going to do? Because it's coming. The sword will not get you. You are going to be tried at the point of the sword. Yes. You are. Yes. It's long, brother. We need you to talk into a mic, I believe. Are you coming to get the microphone over here? He's bringing it to you right now. Yeah.
It would be red flag with the green button.
That's a proper flag. I didn't say that. Is that what you were saying? You mean the flag I'm talking about. All right. The description of the flag says it's a red flag with 5 pointed green star in the center. So now someone puts out a red flag, there's a sword on it. Okay, so that is LTPJF. And the damn star ain't in the center. Now, when prophet said that it's in the center, it means it's in the center. That's an explicit description, right? That means if it's not in the center, that's not the one he's talking about. That's how I see it, because that green star is green from Venus, which is the color of Venus, which is mother. The eastern star is Venus, not a cross. And it's 520 for arm, leg, arm, head, manifest of, like, every time a woman has a child, she just lays the law down, manifested in the flesh. And that's 520 star represented. Arm, leg, arm, head. Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. So when you have the crescent moon and you have that star underneath it, that's the baby hanging on the tree of life in her womb. All right? So all I'm saying is when the sun being that, that flag, when that flag is described as something else, talk about it's the Moorish nation flag, it can't be. It doesn't fit the description of what it ought to be. So someone's trying to start a new nation, and the real problem is that is when you have a son trying to start a new nation, it is a smack in the face of a system that comes in with a nation in a womb already. You can't start a new nation. You can't. And so what we did the other day, you think we came from your rib? Really? You really believe that? Right? No problem. So that means that we come from you, right? So the moment you grow a womb and have a child, you're no longer that male specimen. What the heck You're not the male anymore. You're a woman. What's the argument? There's no argument. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The egg is feminine, the daggone chicken is lazy and feminine. There is no argument. But for someone to make us think there is one is because we are in a mental slavery and we don't honor ourselves or our mothers and fathers. And we'll take that back.
Yeah. And also, the misinformation that is taught to both of us. The misinformation that is taught to both mothers and sons.
Yes.
The only way the plan to infiltrate and change places could take place is if both mothers and sons were mentally conditioned to believe that in some form or fashion, mothers, you guys, I know you have taught this, in some form or fashion, you thought that the child was somehow coming from the testicles of the son and was planted in your womb, and you carried the child for 9 months, and then she birthed it, DIRTH. Somehow, some way, we have that in our head, which is why the patriarchal system then came in, and it started saying, okay, the child, the nationality of the child is based on the father.
Wrong.
The only way that presumption could take place is if the mothers and sons were first misinformed, mentally conditioned. Now, let me just say why that mental condition had to take place. Because now you got Asiatic sons claiming the offspring of modern European daughters. Do you see the infiltration? And historically, the estate never passes through the son because the son doesn't have the children. The home is always, the house might be built by Jack, but it's mother's house because mother has the children.
That would be part and cancer relationship, by the way.
So historically, the estate always passed through mother. So how can we get the modern European daughter to get the ancestral estate of the Moabite nation? Because this is all about bringing the Moabite nation back up, if you didn't know.
Right.
Because the Moorish nation comes out of the Moabite nation, which is mother. So they have to mentally condition both the mothers and the sons. Now you got the sons claiming the offspring of the modern European daughter, and he will amass whatever and will it to that modern European daughter's offspring. Do you see how the ancestral estate is transferred? Do you see it?
And it doesn't mean that you dislike them or anything like that. You know, it's not about hating. It's about knowing. It's about transferring. Because she really wants your place. This is your pain because you're the mother of civilization. You are the mother of civilization. That is why they call themselves the daughters of the American Revolution. They never said the mothers because you're that. Mm-hmm. They're the daughters. And so it's all about them wanting to take our place as the Moabites, and we don't know that, and then they use our sons to actually continue the infiltration. And this is why they revolted in the first place.
Exactly. Now, the plan that they put in place to keep mothers and sons at each other's throats, the whole relationship game is a huge part of that. But that's not really effective. It's really not.
what is effective is the whole child support fraud. Yes. That is the biggest piece of fraud going on today. And a lot of sons, because you get, you know what, I'm going to say this, you're probably not going to agree with me, but you get very emotional. You're very emotional and get super emotional when it comes to the whole child support fraud. Yeah. And they play on you getting emotional. Because the moment you get emotional, common sense is going to go out of the window. You're not going to be thinking logically. You're going to be, all sorts of emotions are going to go through you. Anger, regret, vengeance. Oh, I can't even name them all, but I know they all will go through you. Especially when somebody is messing with your money. Let's not that it's more the pride, because let's face it, the brothers, they really want to, like anyone else, be useful and, not feel like they're inadequate. Just don't know what it is. And this child support system is designed to make you feel quite inadequate. Now they got they got you pushing a baby carriage of a 2-month-old, and you really look kind of stupid. And I'll tell you why. It is not your duty to have a 2-month-old child just because of your week for visitation. That 2-month-old child should be on the breast of its mother. See, this is how much they destroyed our family with this crap with child support. It really belongs on the breast of its mother still. It does. And so here you are, 19 years old, pushing a baby carriage. And they're laughing at it. And then you're feeling inadequate in creating a whole mental being of the sons. It's not that you can't take care of the child. You understand what I'm saying? That's not where it belongs. And one mother's breast has given us all stuff. Now they want to take that baby away from the mother's breast, and they're using you to help do it. But since it's you are the ones who are participating and allowing it to happen, then you look at the sons and say, look how pitiful they are, but you participate in making them pitiful. Why? You don't want to really do that because you don't have knowledge of self. That's all, and what this is all about, and you don't see it. You ain't talking out of that. It's all right. And Prophet Noble Jerome came to teach you to be yourself. Yeah. And the truth of that is, you can't be anything. You can only be what you know. And now we're back to what? Study, so you can know something. Otherwise, perish for a lack of knowledge. The prophet said, I come to teach you to love instead of hate. That's it. Now, within that hate comes vengeance. I'm just back at you. Because it goes both ways. I've seen sons going after the mothers, I've seen mothers going after the sons. All of that needs to end. Because as long as you're at each other's throats, you will never have time to sit down and think about it. And that's the whole plan. That's the whole thing, because, sons, check this out. Mother, she's the heir. She takes care of all her children. Now, mother is not just the physical being. Mother is the universal being. She takes care of all her children. All right? So you never needed to go to work so that this mother who gave birth to a child that she came here with, how about that? All right, could get some Federal Reserve notes from you so she can go buy some milk and diapers and stuff so that the baby can eat and have something to wear. That is the whole fraud. Because here's the thing. If mother would wake up from her slumber and go and claim her vast estate, we would all be living free right now. And she would never be looking to her son, because she was here, and she's obligated to provide for. That's what she would. It's backwards. Mother's got to wake up. This is about mother waking up. And you know what? The prophet said that if you don't wake up,
the streets will run red up to your knees with blood. Are we not there? Are we not there? We got the prisons full of sons. Now, a lot of times, and I haven't talked plenty times enough in prison and they told me, I'm here because I did not listen to mother. And they got all these videos, you know, mothers telling the sons no, or their mate, don't go out, I got a bad feeling, I got this. And see, you always need to listen to mother when she has that feeling and she say, you know, you need to stay home. You need to sit down. But a lot of sons is in the prison because they didn't sit down. All right? And it is that intuition. We need to, the prophet also said, you got to have a proper respect for mother.
But he also said in the prophecies or statements that there was going to be a day when the daughter was going to say, Mommy, I went to the store and I saw a man. Because they're wiped out from not listening.
Yes.
Now, Cujo, did you have a comment? I heard you say something.
Yeah, I was getting jumpy over here. I was thinking about when you said listening to mother. When the first time caught smoking weed, my mom's like, just so you know, if you get behind those bars over there or somebody who says that they're 911 or police or emergency or whatever, call in my house for something, tell them find some other mother to call. Because I didn't raise anybody to go out there and do madness. And knowing that mother would abandon me kept me and my wits and my common sense working, because I'm not about getting no bars with no moms and all that stuff. We're not talking about, you know, the moms who give their children the pass. Like they, you know, something negative happens, they know that it's their fault, but then they're talking about, oh yeah, you know, he's a good boy and all that type of stuff. We're not talking about those ones. We're talking about she was straight abandoned because moms didn't play. My moms, at least, you know what I mean? Like when she says certain stuff, either you're going with that or, you know, and every time you went against it, judgment caught you. Every time. Every time it said the same thing. Where you going? The devil's calling you outside. Why are you going outside? Hey, whatever, man. Go outside and something's bound to happen. Somebody gets stabbed up, somebody gets shot up or whatever like that. And then the next day, she's right there just giving you the eye all day just because she knew it was going to happen. And it's a thing where we have to really stop dealing with people who don't have nationalities, because all nations are mothers. There's no patriarch, there's no man nation. All nations are mothers. So when you're dealing with people who claim that nationality doesn't matter and call yourself black and all this type of stuff, know that those are patriarchal people from the start, and they're already in their grave. Because males have to recognize, like even when we were coming up in metaphysics and all that stuff, like brothers that were in all these different schools of thought or whatever, right, used to get mad when we challenged them on, you know, use your breaths. You know what I mean? Have a baby. Don't tell me nothing about man's God and all that stuff when you can't even do the stuff that God does. And then pushing that as a concept on people. You know what I mean? Like forcing people to accept that uncivilized mentality.
Yeah.
That masculine is superior and feminine is next to masculine, or, you know what I mean? There's some equal whatever. There's not no equal anything. We as sons have to recognize that, you know what I mean? We're subordinate. I mean, just like the European has to recognize he's subordinate. It's nothing personal. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing to get mad or whatever like that. That's what it is. Males are subordinate to women, so play your position.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so things could start moving in the right direction. Because we said it all. You want to stop all this killing and black on black whatever, and you know which only males are involved in, you know, right? Mm-hmm. Tell all these sisters to close their legs and stop giving these brothers their little sexual stimulation crap, and bet you all this madness stop tomorrow.
That's right.
These brothers know that sisters aren't giving it up like that. Let them realize sisters ain't giving it up, whether it's wife, girlfriend, mistress, whatever. Everybody's cutting off the legs. Nobody's getting anything until males get yourself in order. Watch how fast brothers start get organized and all that stuff and do stuff properly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it takes mother also coming to her senses and realizing her power, not just males telling her. You know what I mean? It's not enough that Drew Ali took you out of the cares of the world and brought you onto the solid rock of foundation. It's for you to now get out his arms. Well, he's still up in Prophet's arms, 2015. How about start walking on the rock of salvation and do what the hell you're supposed to do? Because if we look at it as, you know, if we look at it from Moor's perspective, you know, this isn't going nowhere unless sisters start getting active.
No.
You know, because we're really the protectors. We're the shield. You know, to make sure that you're not getting blocked when you're doing your work, whether it's spiritual work, occult work, whatever work that you got to do, sis, do your work.
That's right. And with the loss of that understanding that you just brought about, the sons really are like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Because they're waiting for you to give them instruction. And you waiting for them to give you instruction. And it doesn't work like that because really you was instructing them in the womb the whole time, which is why when she gets it, it's considered as gotten. Because she's going to teach in the first womb, which is the womb, period, and then raise the child in the house to the same thing, to that knowledge. Mm-hmm. And there was one other thing, I lost my favorite. Well, I wanted you to go into, you might have a comment on this, but I wanted you to also go into, if he's going to go into a question and answer, how much time do we have? All right. All right, break time. I'm going to do that. Right?
Yes.
All right.
All right.
I want to just read what this says.
All right. We're going to take a little break. We're just going to play a little music, and then we'll be right back.
I want to show you.
All right. Well,
we're live from the phone.
And hopefully we can get our sound back. All right.
Thank you.
Are we back? All right. Yeah.
I'm not back. I don't even think so. I know this is what I was waiting on that the whole time.
Did you work on my call?
Yes, you were.
I was listening.
everyone what we would like to do? Because we want to make sure we get the question and answer portion for you. But before we do it, we move on with some of our things. And remind them between the picture of any questions about which and we don't believe in all or more. But as we were going back to some of the other things we were dealing with, we were talking about the highwaymen and the corporations and how they come together with and rob you. Like Eddie was saying that they are corporations, they are not government. They're feeding to be government. And they've done it for so many generations that we believe it, but really actually they are a Roman army, municipality, which is a Roman venue, and they are actually doing work every day as private employees for these municipalities, which are Roman venues, for the purpose, are you hearing me? Of going out on the highway and accosting you, robbing your liberties, and making finance from it. They are not government. Somebody's having a deep conversation that's coming all the way up here. Oh, it's got to be guys. Their voice travels. They can't whisper. Y'all know that, right? Y'all got deep baritone voices. Y'all think y'all would. No, it's not good. It's not good. But do you understand? Do we get that they're not government? They are not government, but they've done such a good job. So really, sons, what fears for you, for all of us, really, is that they're out there like a gang with a uniform on and sidearms, going out into the street.
Those are not arms. Those are weapons.
Weapons, and they use them as weapons, going out into the highways and the byways, accosting you and your family, and they'll accost your baby and your son and your daughter, and, you know, as soon as they're old enough to get in and start traveling on the highway. This is what they do. They are not government. The courts are not really courts. Let me show you how. Definition not really schools. And the schools are not really schools. The prophet said every temple must have their own school. And we know why. Because upon doing studies, you will find why they're never going to teach you certain things that are true about your own.
They're not teaching you. They're mentally conditioning
everybody
and the children today.
That's right.
Because really what's happening is we send our children to a corporation, and that corporation mentally conditions them to be revenue generators.
That's all they do.
That's all that's going on.
That's it, and that's all.
I don't care, even in what they call so-called higher education, college, university, what they're teaching you, which is why many of us have stress. They are teaching us to receive a paycheck behind the pain and suffering of people. Most of that pain and suffering is inflicted on our own people. And if we do look at what they call doctors and nurses, that's not medicine, that's poison. But many of us would get a really good paycheck for administering the poison.
That's it, that's all.
And then they got the prisons. We are watching our own people behind bars, and we give some of them people in those prisons a little bit of power to go right to their head, and it twists them. And they will go to school so that they can be a lieutenant in the prison and get more finance, and sit on the other side of a bar and watch their own family get mistreated. That's going to create serious stress, and that's why a lot of us are dropping like flies to death, because it has to catch up. and to catch up with you. You cannot avoid it.
So the definition of highwayman, for food for your thought, is a bandit, one who robs travelers upon the highway. Source, Blackwell's fourth edition dictionary, page 862. Now notice it didn't say rob drivers, did it? Because you know a driver is doing someone who's doing something, a commercial act. When you're traveling, you're not doing a commercial act, and that is the distinction, and that's where your liberties are. But you keep saying that you are, and we've been doing it for generations, and that's how they have gained control over our ability to travel from point A to point B, because we believe that we needed their permission, which is what a license is, to do it. And that's why we're in the condition we're in now, and that's why they rob us. And then lastly, it is not, now this case law, a lot of people who really know law didn't like this case law and didn't want to accept it, but we understand it because it's the truth. I see your hand up. It is not the duty of the police to protect you. This is the case law, y'all listen.
Tallahassee versus Sam.
This is the case law. It is not the duty of the police to protect you. Their job is to protect the corporation and arrest code breakers. Now, that versus Tallahassee. I know some people say, well, no, that's not right because the law of the land is the law of the land. And it is the law of the land. But what they're telling you is, okay, it's the law of the land. We're lawbreakers. And by the way, we're hired to protect corporations. Sorry. So that's all.
So if they're hired to protect corporations, what does that make the police in reality? Corporate security guard with a gun, with a weapon.
And if we knew that it came from that perspective, all that would be over with.
The other thing is, this land, the supreme law of this land is the American Constitution, correct? If the standing army is protecting corporations, that's unconstitutional, correct?
Because there can be no standing army.
Because there can be no standing army, and if there is an army, that army is obligated on this land to protect the people.
Right. That's why you would know that, but the
Constitution was written to protect the people from infringement of all corporations. But it is the Moor's responsibility to ensure that that Constitution is in force.
That's the Bey. That's the bailiff in the court. That's the Bey. The ills and the Bey sons enforce the Constitution. Make sure that no one violates it against you or the people.
Make sure that everyone obeys the law.
Obey the law. Oh, that's Bey. The law. That's where obey the law comes from. Oh, the law. Do you have a question? You don't have a driver's. You don't have a driver's license. You have a driver's instrument. You have permission to do commerce. And if you're a truck driver, you might need that to do commerce. But if you're going to go see grandma tomorrow or the family, you don't need that to show that for anything because you're not driving, which is commercial. You are right to travel.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of us. You have a question? Well, hold on a minute. A lot of us, you know, one of the things that these modern Europeans count on is that we never go back to the source and read it. How many people went back to the United States and read, what is it, Title 49? Anybody? What they all operate from?
Oh, USC Code.
Yes, United States Code, USC 49. That's the It's within Title 49 that the whole motor vehicle program is documented. Did anybody ever read it? Well, I read some of it. But, you know, I like to always go back to the source and see exactly what was written. You know that 1887, I think it is. I'm always studying. I don't ever not study something. I'm always thinking of something. So when I say study, I mean study. This is just part of Title 49. And it started in 1887. Guess what it started as? Everybody's concerned about your right to travel, right? This is something that we can so easily put to bed. Instead of us trying to get stuff, we need to relieve ourselves of these people being able to violate us when it comes to our right to travel. If we would collectively get rid of that, it would free us up to focus on other things. So I went and I looked at the source. Where did it come from? It brought me to 1978. All right? But and I've looked through the congressional records because I like reading the congressional records because that's supposed to be where they document the so-called policies and procedures, right? And if it's documented, like I keep telling people, the 14th Amendment, if it's documented in the statutes at large, that is prima facie evidence of treason. I like it when they document published stuff. But I went and looked up the motor vehicle process, and it brought me to 1978. But in the first, in the first couple of lines of the Act, it says to revise. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's revising, what came before that? You'll never guess what came before that. But it started in 1887. How on target are we with our right to travel? The whole motor vehicle process initially started and continues to this day under the Interstate Commerce Act. Did you hear what I said? Since when did your right to travel become an Interstate Commerce Act? All right? So I went and I pulled it up. In 1887, if you see my older brother, he loved to draw trains, cars, and planes. And if you do a little bit of history of when the trains first came on the scene, how many people remember? I mean, I wasn't alive, but when the trains first came on the scene, they were beautiful. Do you remember that? They had dining cars. People got dressed up in fancy. That was us, by the way. Got dressed up in fancy clothes to go to the dining car. It was like a ballroom on wheels. It was very plush, very, very fine. Well, the interstate commerce was written to regulate the railroad travel, pricing, and safety of the people. Then it blossomed into ships, and then it started talking about all of it from 1887. 1978, 1983, 1985, all of it is talking about commerce. if you're engaging in commerce, you need to have some sort of license and registration. But here's what a lot of people miss. If you don't need a license or registration to travel on the land in your private conveyance, who is obligated to have the license and registration? The corporation. Now, did you say you were a truck driver? Do we? What?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're carrying
truck drivers here? Any truck drivers?
But he's still going to come in.
But no, but I want to make a point.
Bus operator, that's it.
Bus operator?
Mm-hmm.
Who's a bus operator?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, is the bus registration in your name? And the insurance? Why you gotta have the license? Hello? That's my question. It's not that. No. Oh. No. Let me ask
that. Doesn't do that.
Here's the problem with that theory. How are you going to prove that? All right, you got a social security number. What does that prove? How do you know?
How do you prove it?
How do you prove it?
Yeah.
Exactly. See, because a lot of people run away with, oh my God, it's a bond. They're making money off of me. Really? Can you prove that? How? No, it won't. Because here's the thing. You're saying if you put and that's not yours, by the way. If you put that SSN number into some insurance website search engine, it's going to bring up all of whatever they use. No, it's not, and I'm going to tell you why. Because for every one of these transactions, they bundle it. And it's traded internationally. So unless you're a broker, you don't even have access to that system. So why would that when has that, okay, here's the other part of that. You're saying that number, when you put it in, it brings up some sort of 6 pages. You have documentation of that? I don't have it. But I'm asking you. See, first of all, and I'm going to tell you because I learned, the universe is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. And a lot of people are running around here talking about trust. And most of the people that's talking about trust have zero information truly about trust. You really got to sit down and go through the book and get it into your cranium if you really are going to understand trust, not to establish one, okay, because there is no need to establish any trust, because if you understood it, you would never do that. But when you're dealing in any lawful venue, all right, you have got to have documentation. And you have to have the original. If I went, years ago, this credit card company tried to take me to small claims. And they brought me a 3D print of their computer trying to prove that that was me, and I owed them based on their screen prints. Of course, the screen prints are a lot more fancier today, but the bottom line is it's still a screen print. You follow me? So if you're going to bring that particular claim, you have got to have hardcore evidence, because numbers are very random. And for you to say, okay, I put this number in the system, this 9-digit sequence number into a system, and it pops up this, and this is connected to me, how do you prove that? Exactly. That is my point. But my point is this. If you go down that line, you are opening yourself up for suit. Because in law, you must have verifiable documentation, or you will get sued for slander. You can't be throwing out. We say the same thing about them. What makes you think that they're not going to throw it back on us?
Talking about the state, when we blame the state, but it's not the state.
Exactly. Another thing is we so do not identify the proper party. We have to get a lot better with that. And we're in catch-up mode, and I so get that. And what I mean by that is, for years, many of us have been blaming the state. Oh, it's the state. No, it's not. When you travel on these roads, the state doesn't have any police. The Fed is on record as saying they don't have any police power. So if the Feds don't have police power, and that is constitutionally correct, because we read the definition of police, right? Police are there to protect corporations. Can the Feds have police? No. No, because that would be unconstitutional. The Union States can't have police either, and they don't. And I know a lot of you are saying, yeah, when I was driving on the highway, the state police pulled me over. Did you ask them to show you documentation that they were working for the state? No, they didn't. Because let me tell you what happened.
We asked that.
Because you asked that? I asked them for the information. Well, I would never do that. Look, when people are in the hunt for income, that's not the time to ask relevant questions. That's why, and it's not documented anywhere that you ask that question.
So it's a waste of time.
You're putting yourself in danger asking some of the most ignorant people on planet Earth a logical question.
He got his hand up. I think he knows.
I just want to ask a question. But probably wrong. They always ask myself, that's true.
So you figure you'd ask them for their charter and their bonds, like people.
Okay, whose charter and whose bond? All right, well, first of all, how many people know that every single corporation in existence right now has a charter/business plan? All right. How many people know that every company/corporation, in order for you to be in business, you must have what?
Okay.
Indemnity insurance, i.e. a bond. Same thing. It's the language. So you have to study. It's all in front of you. Hell, 9 times out of 10, they give you charging documents. They give you documents that you can use. How many brothers in here have ever been through child support? I know somebody has. They gave you 20 charging documents, didn't they? Mm-hmm. And you need to study so that you can then use those documents against them, because you look, that's not the issue, because you never gave any money, you never received any money. What it did was it held you hostage. It held your spirit and your creativity hostage. You need to first calm down. First, well, I'm telling you, because see, you're not going to be able to think your way out of this. The prophet said, if I could just get you to thinking, you would free yourself. So you need to take some time, regardless of whether you're done paying, you're still paying, or you're about to pay. Don't worry about it. Read the prophecies and statements, because the prophet said, it don't matter how it looks, and then it's all going to be turned over. It's all going to end up in the hands of the Lord. So you already know the end game. Right? You know the end game. So don't sweat the small stuff. Right? What you need to first do is get some peace in yourself. It ain't going to be easy, and it ain't going to be quick. Because once you get some peace in yourself, then you can look at the documents objectively. You can start analyzing them, meaning look on that document, go look up some of the words that are being used, and know the whole strategy of the whole child support fraud. It all works in your favor. It's just that you've been so emotional that you missed it. Here's the thing. Look at the child support. Let me put the child support on the side for a minute. Let's go to a credit card company. Everybody has a credit card one time in their lifetime, right? All right, now, the credit card company, let me stop paying. What is the credit card company going to do? Turn you over to collections, right? And somebody else is going to come and call, harass you. Some cases, they will even kidnap you off the street, right? You owe me money. I want my money, right? And now, unless you pay, they can harass you. They can put your name on a bad credit list. You can't get nothing, right? You understand that? Right. Don't that sound like child support? Yeah, they do that. Well, it's the same principle. It's the same principle. Who is the child support corporation collecting for? Who's the creditor? Huh? Who is the creditor? Who? No, because see, the creditor, you don't know who the creditor is. You ain't never asked. The presumption is that the creditor is the mother of the child, right? Wait a minute. She the one supposed to be getting the money, right? You're supposed to be paying her back, right? So she's the creditor. When did she loan you money? Exactly. So who's the creditor? You don't know. Exactly. See, we don't ask the right questions because we're so angry, emotional about being robbed that we have never really sat down to look at this. This is so obviously fraud, but you never see it until you calm down and look at it objectively. Then you see all sorts of loopholes, all sorts of strategies. But, and they sent you a bucket load of paperwork that you can use against them. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of study. Now, you have a question over here?
Right.
You forgot? I'm sorry. Your question?
Oh, this brother here was first.
He said he forgot it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. They'll come back to you.
What about traveling, driving? Oh, I knew that was.
You want to clarify
About the truck, why you don't need to use one if you know what it is.
How do you start a business with, you're not making money, first of all, but you are, what you're doing is you're exchanging, the question was how do you generate revenue without going into foreign venues?
And asking for the license, which is permission to do so.
All right, well, first of all, you have to know that a trust, that's English law. Look it up in Westlaw Fourth Edition Dictionary. Trust is English law. The trust, the whole premise of the trust really says that you're not competent to handle your own affairs because you're alleging to turn it over to someone else to handle. Now, if you're a sole proprietor, and you can be, you have a constitutionally / treaty secured right to offer your energy for compensation, minus any type of contractual agreement with a foreigner. There's no law that says that you have to get permission, especially from a foreigner.
And don't call it income either.
To engage in some sort of compensation. It's called, what's the word? I use compensation a lot. Pecuniary compensation. I like compensation because that's the word that's used in the case law, where it says that your compensation cannot be taxed. Also, you have a right, there's case law that says you have a right to labor in any fashion you choose without any interference. As long as you don't injure anyone, you don't intentionally violate anyone's space, everything that you have done is honorable, you're good. Well, it's all that's up in the Constitution. The whole purpose of the Constitution is that you can go about your day-to-day life without any interference from any corporation.
In other words, you know what, there is a case law too that I absolutely love. But what she's saying is your biggest right is the right to be left alone, provided you do not infringe on anyone else's right to the same. Now, there is a Scherer, I think, versus Cohen, and it says, upon this form of government, the state does not dictate the conduct of another. Mm-hmm. That is left to you to determine what's best for you. Now, once we get there, we got another problem because we know that most of us have not been informed or knowledgeable enough to figure that part out of what they don't know what's best for them because we're acting uncivilized because we don't know what the law is. But back to what you're saying, back to what you're saying, You know, that's what I'm saying is your biggest right is the right to be left alone. Period. Provided you don't infringe someone else's right to the same. Yeah, but I don't know what a volume is on this. Provided you don't infringe someone else, so there's a case law that supports that. It says the state does not have the right to determine what your conduct should be. So now, with what you're asking, and I'm not going to read all of this, but as far as your work, you know, it's funny because I'm working on a book called About All Licenses and Permits. Because it's important, because it's where it all starts at. You don't have the freedom to go and assist each other in any way if we can't get into a conveyance of whatever mode and go where we need to go to come together. Mm-hmm. So they hinder that ability to travel. But you have a right to travel. The only thing they can regulate is those who drive.
Which is actually corporations, and that is so spelled out in the whole Interstate Commerce Act, which is the heading that the motor vehicle process is under. Everything in that act is about regulating the corporation, not the people. And we got a couple of questions.
Yeah, but not only that, he wanted to share something about child support and how they came after him. Now, of course, we're not going to read this entire affidavit. It has 37 points of the discovery, actually asking them questions or stating facts. Wow, like this one, it says, I am at the age at which the law considers one in an adult and entitled to legal rights beyond those of the age of capacity. My family is primarily an institution established by God. Your agency has no jurisdiction over my family. God is my family. This is how he, Ali, here, he hosts his classes. This is what he put in. And I guess he could share that more with you later. And he says, this affidavit complies with rules of evidence and is admissible in my tribunal, court, or domestic foreign office in the United States and in the United States of America. This affidavit complies with the rules of evidence. It says that this affidavit establishes my personal knowledge and authenticity. We don't have enough faith in who we are in ourselves. Now, let me just finish showing you what happened with him. So then he goes and he does the right thing because they want to put a warrant out, child support and all that stuff, right? Right? Mm-hmm. And he basically says, he requested that his property be restored to him immediately and that Frank, can I put the name out? Frank Stewart, a man, is he the sheriff? Okay, the sheriff. And deceased from trespassing against I. Amen. Right? Man to man, right? Isaiah Ali. Amen. Further, order Frank Stewart to provide Isaiah a copy of the policy describing the bonding coverage of his specific job performance. All right? The 6 minutes. Really good. As Sheriff of Montgomery County, 15 U.S.C., 18 U.S.C., Section 912, and 18 U.S.C., Section 1621, which states as follows. 1, that all officials are required by federal, state, and municipal law to provide the name, the address, and the telephone number of their public agent and malpractice bonding company as a policy member of the bond, and it's required a copy of the policy describing the bonding coverage of their specific job performance. It's like you found this because people told me they couldn't find this, right? This is USC. 2, failure to provide this information constitutes corporate and limited liability insurance fraud, 15 USC, and is prima facie evidence and grounds to impose a lien upon the official personally to secure their public oath and service of office, 18 USC, Section 912. And 3, whoever having taken an oath before a competent, that's cute, right? Tribunal officer or person in any case in which a law of the United States authorities authorizes an oath to be administered willfully and contrary to such an oath state or subscribe any material matter which he does not believe to be true is guilty of perjury. So they took an oath, and they're guilty of perjury, right? And he shall be fined no more than 2,000 or in prison not more than 5 years or both. That's 18 U.S.C. Section 16.1. And lastly, just to show what happened, they wrote him a letter, tried to trick him. Oh, we received your affidavit fact regarding the written and nature discovery addressed to the Honorable Mary Ellen Barbara. Please be advised that the affidavit was improperly sent to the chief, was improperly sent to Chief Judge Barbara. You may wish to consult with counsel or the clerk of the court in which your case is subject to determine to whom the affidavit shall be submitted. But you already knew that, no. I know it should go to the chief judge in charge, right? Right? So you wrote them back and basically said, It's just, I guess this little one-liner here, huh? Is this the one? He said, oh, no, I think it's in here. That's his daughter.
Well, while she's looking for that,
No, I want to get this out of the way. So you can move on with that. Oh, here it is. You say that my affidavit of fact sent to the Honorable Mary Ellen Barbera was improperly sent. That's what they say. They'll tell you anything you got to know. And it says, according to the Maryland Constitution, Section 18B1, I will always correspond with the chief judge. That's what Barbera was. Because of her position as head of the administrative and judicial systems of this state, which is the state that defines stuff on it. You have been put on notice. By the. Well, they did. They left them alone. Because they know they didn't know it's law. All right, go ahead.
Now, another thing to look at, let me just ask you, is this person alleged to be a sheriff of Montgomery County? Now, Montgomery County is a company. You do know this? Yes. Yeah, that's exactly correct. All right. So now a sheriff and a company/corporation do not go together. So the sheriff is really a police disguised as a sheriff, because the sheriff is constitutionally sanctioned and their obligation is to protect the people. So he's police disguised as sheriff. So what would you do if you went into Walmart and one of the employees of Walmart threatened you? What would you do?
Like you should know that somebody said call the police.
Yeah.
Moor, you know, never
other people up north with. Very different. I used to say people up north are too happy. They will sue you for anything. Sue you. Yes, they tread the life of Noah, because they will sue you for looking at it wrong. They don't call the police, and they don't call the supervisor. They will sue you in a heartbeat, and that's what we as people across the nation have to do, because you're dealing with a corporation. What do you do? Okay, let me give you another example. If you go into Walmart and an employee is mopping the floor and you slip and break your leg, what would you do then? Oh, y'all know how to sue.
I was the first time.
You would sue? Really? And any employee of a corporation violates you, you are supposed to sue them. That's your protection. That will ensure that they will think twice about violating anyone else. And guess what? You got the full force of the supreme law of the land backing you. You just have to know who is who, Identify the proper parties. If you go into Walmart and the employee accosts you, you don't want to blame the state, because that's not who violated you. You have to know who is who. And if you are violated by an employee, who are you going to name in the suit? Y'all do things very different down here. What? Who?
She said everyone.
Well, you can't sue Walmart because that's a fiction. You can never, ever, ever sue a fiction. The minute you put the fiction down as the party being sued, you just said, I am so incompetent. So who is responsible for the actions of all Walmart employees? Thank you. The CEO. How many people saw, I know it's crazy, but they gave you so much information in the first 15 minutes of the movie. How many saw McGee's Witness Protection Program? Oh, y'all need to go see it. I'm not promoting it. I'm not promoting it. But in the first 15 minutes of the movie, they laid it out. The little European guy who was a clerk in the accounting department, they elevate him to CFO. He thinks because he's so smart. And then one Saturday, he goes in to try to unravel the mess of 21 accounts, he thinks. So he goes in on a Saturday morning and the elevator, he goes into the front door, Asiatic sister downstairs. He said, good morning. She said, it's not going to be for you. He doesn't know what she's talking about. He goes onto the elevator, goes upstairs to whatever floor you work on. The door's open. It's pandemonium. Everybody is running around. They got huge trash cans shredding everything. He goes into the CEO and he asks him, what's going on? He says, get out now. He said, what do you mean, get out now? He said, it's a Ponzi scheme. Get out now. He said, no, it's not a Ponzi scheme. He said, yes, it is. Those are fictitious accounts. He said, well, they're about 21 of them. He said, no, it's only 9. He said, no, it's 21. He said, no, get out now. So he says, no, I am a qualified accountant. He said, why do you think we elevated you to CFO and gave you the six-figure income? We gave you the six-figure income for you to take the fall. I was like, that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. They said it all. They laid it out in the first 15. I know a lot of people saw that in the movie, missed it. They laid it out. And then the rest of the movie was basically for the first 15 minutes of the movie. They laid it out. Who is set up to take the fall? The CEO, the CFO, and the COO. That's why they get the six-figure income. That's right. So, put it on them. All of the CEOs. How many people, you know, when we went and we found the charter of New York City Corporation, and do you know the first article of that charter, it says that this is a corporation, and it says the chief executive officer. The chief executive officer will be the man. It's in the charter. And what is the charter? It's a business plan. So your assignment is to go and get these charters before they all start to disappear offline. Because when we put Prince Charles on blast and put their charter down and put it all over the place, you can't go up there and get the charter no more.
One of the things to discuss, one of the things is briefly the discharge and why isn't him right, and why he shouldn't be trusted. Or the fact that we are really entrusted to this earth spiritually just from being here in the first place. We are the trustee and the beneficiary of this earth plane. Then we entrusted it and made public trustees of these Europeans, right? Of what is already ours. But what she's saying is if you really look at trust, deeds, patents, all of that is commercial activity.
Yes, and it actually is evidence of a renter agreement. And you are not a renter.
So everybody saying put it in the trust to protect people.
You're already protected.
But you're already
because you're ancient. You're ancient, so you're already protected.
And your property is already protected.
And this is why the prophets in the prophecies or the writings of Nationality, he said, go back to the mindset of your foremothers and your forefathers. You are ancient people. You are protected anciently. How are you going to take a modern creation like a trust and protect yourself as an ancient people?
It doesn't work.
It don't work.
It doesn't. It's not true.
The role and the concept of legacy, how the legacy
and legacy is nothing more than another word for a fiction. And legacy is a fictitious being. And legacy is it's just another word for a fiction. And legacy is just another word for a fiction. That's all.
This is very think back on the social partnership. Very big. I'm going
No. Why did you need to register? Remember, a registrar registers fixtures. You're not a fixture. You have free reign.
But he's talking about being the sole proprietor, which if he wants.
You can be a sole proprietor in your free national capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, let me think about it. Where is it written? Anciently. Because remember, we're the merchants of this land. All right? That's our heritage. We are merchants.
The original merchants.
We're the original merchants. Anciently, nobody had any piece of paper or permission, especially from a foreigner. See, our problem, our challenge as a people is we don't comprehend government. We are not members, citizens, employees of the United States of America. Their policies and procedures say you have to get a license and all sorts of things. Your government, which would be Great Seal, which is individual, not representative, says that you can do pretty much anything you want to, as long as you don't infringe on the rights of other people or violate Mother Earth.
But now let's just say this: the reason that it's attaching is that you don't need a representative form of government. See, modern Europeans, where this is not their land, need to be represented. You get it? That's why you can't be in their same jurisdiction. But to answer the brother in the back, you can be a sole proprietor of your business, and any quote-unquote name you use to navigate with may not necessarily be your full spiritual appellation, may be a shortened portion of it that you navigate in quote-unquote, as people say, public and private, right?
There's no such thing.
There's really no such thing as public and private, period.
Public servants are public.
No, in your world. Because they don't have a world except for that which you have provided for them. So you could go self-proprietor, which means you're unincorporated, which means you take care of your own business, which means, so when it comes to like taxes, no, I don't do that. I don't take, I'm not obligated to taxes.
But you got to know why.
But you have to know why. So some people have used to navigate a EIN. Some people go for the 98 EIN. That's another thing. It's just like a far thing. But so that they can navigate through. But let's just say you have an EIN and you do that just to get through, right? Do what you're doing. Then they say, well, you're this number for your taxes, but you personally are unincorporated, right? You can't have your own business certificate, your own business, and you are not one who's obligated to taxes. If you ever should get employees, which you'll never get as a lawyer, you'll never have employees, ever. Because if a fellow lawyer was working with you, they're never going to be an employee, ever. So you don't have to pay out taxes for them either, that they need to pay to someone else. So they don't pay taxes either. You get paid? All right. And everything you make is compensation is not income. Because income is profit from a corporate investment, and that's not what you're doing when you're working anyway. That's right. You have to know that. All right. Put the mic up to you. What money? There is no money. Well, that's what you're saying. It's your baby.
You should say that. It's your baby because how many people have ever read the Social Security Act of 1935? No one. Do you know that AFD, age of family dependent, is under Social Security Act? Do you know that it's federally funded? Do you know that the Fed get that finance, not from the people, from the international community, just because they use? It got nothing to do with your son in child support. And do you also know how many? I know I'm not. Look, there has been a time in everybody's life where we needed to get some type of so-called assistance. Never did we ever know that finance was there waiting for you whenever you should need it or call upon it.
But what they do, they make you turn yourself into it. They don't call it in black in order to get it. If you knew it was for you, you wouldn't do that. Who get it? That's for the sisters.
It's for you.
Aboriginal people.
And it's right in the act. It's federally funded. They cannot ask you, they cannot base you receiving this finance on your nationality, your religion, and a third thing. I can't remember, but we're going to be doing a class on the Social Security because workman compensation falls under the Social Security Act. All of these things, they are federally funded. People are not supposed to be paying into it because it's federally funded. They deposit a lump sum of finance into this big bucket every year for the Aboriginal indigenous people. But if we don't claim that we're Aboriginal and indigenous in the first place because we're Negroes, colors, and blacks, we would certainly not have any idea or information regarding it. Now what they do is when you come in because they want to keep you in that status, they might make the sister or whatever fill out paperwork, some put up the date that says they're Negro, calling them black, but it really is for them as Aboriginal people. And
she doesn't understand something. Can you explain?
All right, what? Put the mic to your mouth.
No, what the reason is there has been mismanagement, malfeasance, that's misappropriation of funds. Because they get a lump sum. And look, here's the other thing. Social Security is an insurance. Right. Here's the other thing. Since they're printing the money, as long as they're trees, they got the paper. So they're not going to go up because right now, these Federal Reserve notes that are out there is not backed by any gold or silver. And that's documented. It's backed by you and I.
But first of all, isn't Social Security is really an insurance policy? It's just an insurance policy. So therefore, you don't have to invest in it if you don't want to, and you can't. Nothing can be held against you just because you are not an active member within that Social Security policy. It's a private insurance policy. I'm sorry. Just because you're not participating in it doesn't mean that you should have any penalty against you. And if you really go to Social Security and write it down, tell you that. But these modern Europeans and corporations are making you think you've got to have it, you've got to invest in it. The truth is, the real Social Security is you taking care of your own mother and father, grandmother, grandchildren, and family. That's the true Social Security. And if we don't get that right, it's not going to matter because what you didn't understand is you said they were going out of business. All of these corporations are going bankrupt. They've been bankrupt. They've only been propped up as existing because of the energy we put in them, and to make them as if they're real. They're not, and they're going down the drain, which is another reason why all of this investment into birth certificate redemption, corporations, all this crap, you're going to go down the drain with that because you just put yourself under that jurisdiction in order to make a claim that you should do from your heart, from your family, and Christian that's waiting for you to do it. You see? So that's the real deal about Social Security. Yes.
Yes. Question. I have a question with regards to I was kidnapped, or not kidnapped, but still wanted to show off at a municipality during driving on a suspended license. The CCY gave me some pointers just now about taking their documentation and tearing them apart with it.
Yes.
But can you just outline a basic strategy?
Well, I will say this, and then each can say what she wants to say. Simple.
Not over here.
Yeah, certain things. But I will say this. Think about it. That's extortion and conspiracy to extort. Why? You say suspended license, right? All right, here's what's really happening. Let's say one day you got stopped for speeding or whatever it might be. Now, in certain states, they have what they call a surcharge, right? And they suspend your license, and then they say, all right, you got a surcharge because you got stopped last week. Because you got stopped, they're making like finance over finance with this. And so now the surcharge system, they have a synthetic surcharge system, right? The surcharge system says, you know what, you didn't pay me. So then they notify the Division of Motor Vehicles to suspend the license. And so the Division of Motor Vehicles suspends your license because the surcharge system said so, because they didn't get paid. Then they said, while you had it, I want you to notify all the police, county, state, tri-county, if you see them, stop them because they owe me money. That's conspiracy. That's called conspiracy all day long and extortion. So down in certain areas, they do have a Division of Motor Vehicles. Another change it to instead of DMV is NVS, Motor Vehicle Service, and then NVSS, Motor Vehicle Surcharge Service. So it looks like it's the same now. How do you further know that they are a conspiracy to extort you? Because you have two separate payments to make, right? One for your license and one to pay that ticket and that surcharge, correct? All right, there's the two conspiracies, it's nothing else. Because even though they're two separate things, they are two separate things. You got two separate payments, they'll take each other's payments for each other, won't they? Won't they take each other's payments? They're conspiring to extort. Myself, I was able to prove to you with that instrument beat them out of this nigga, the whole thing based on conspiracy. If you really want to know a little bit more about it, go on the website on the driver's license form. There's bits and pieces that we use from actual writ that we actually use that actually quote unquote work. All right? Anything else you want to add?
No, that's it, because we're going to be off the air. So what we'll do is we will end this show / broadcast, and we will answer questions afterwards.
If there's time.
If there is time. Yeah, so
We got to get out of there.
You gotta go.
I'm sorry. There you go.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here. We can get y'all back here.
You know how hard it was to get there?
February, what? February.
You mind?
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the biblioteller said, did you call the Bible? It says, teach your fool, even the most believe. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them guys don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved the Slavs, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they niggered us right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then maybe, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too smart, Lova, Tor, Marcus, Garvey, your ass. Nova, Julia, are leading, God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you can edit sin. We've been enlightened long before Thomas Edison. Skeletons to prove that you wasn't even relevant. In the Caucasus Mountains, cause the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman with the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but in time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied in law, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law and master, so I'm running that. This Molotov cocktail burns faster, so I like the match. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I spit the truth, so here's the roof, so you can that. My skin is brown and here's the proof, but you ain't hearing that. Dead in the eyes of the law, that's why they call you black. Naming all caps when you fall, that's why I strike back. And strike that from the record ab initio. You gon' need more than some pressure, I got a vicious flow. I can take the road to the high, or I can hit them low. Try to calcify my third eye, oh you gon' have to go. Chemtrails all over the sky, and you don't wanna know. Doggone inside of my tribe, they coming no more.
If you believe that your history started on a slave boat, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I'm saying. Then, after saying that, and so believe me, go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, sure as you're sitting there listening, or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word Moor, and that's another thing, because we weren't called black. That the description, maybe black or more or whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual,